things I first got into sports betting where I was like, okay, I'm not great at this, but like there's a couple times where like I see something and then like it ends up kind of manifesting itself in a good bet or whatever. Like, and rather than do more of that, I got obsessed with making numbers on games, like absolutely obsessed. Like it was my full consuming thing. And if I have a weakness, it's that, and this year I've gotten out of it a lot. I've tried to like go back to that balance of like my numbers aren't that good. They're like a helpful guide in some situations when something funny is happening in a market, there's an injury or something. But like go back to like honestly more kind of like intuition. And look, you watch every game and you read everything and you have like a pretty good understanding of like kind of directionally which a game is more likely to move one way or another, or a total is. I know a lot of people who bet, like I have a better network now. And so my weakness is like sometimes I'll just like see the number on my screen and I'll get totally anchored in that. Like it, whatever else I end up doing, like that's always going to be like in my brain too much. And I'm for this NFL season, I'm actually thinking about not making numbers for games at all, and only trying to look at the board. Because like eventually you kind of know like how a board's going to function, right? Like an NFL odds board, like it's okay. Like something's more likely to move, less likely to move. I might do this year's betting only like basically like taking the odds board and trying to using like news and information, figure out like what stuff is most likely to move, as opposed to like I make the game blank. And so like, therefore the difference is that. So I know that was a long-winded answer, but I feel like I've been holding that for a while and I was really happy you brought that out of me. So thank you. Shohei Ohtani is the huge favorite for AL MVP. It's about even money. It's a little better than even money. Ronald Acuna Jr. is a huge favorite for NL MVP. So Ohtani and Ronald Acuna would be the first two. Cy Young, Strider, and Gallen are huge favorites in the NL. They are holding most of the win probability in that market. Garrett Cole is still really the sole favorite. You can have Ohtani as a pair with him if you want, but Cole in the AL Cy Young market. And then for Rookie of the Year in the AL, Masataka Yoshida of the Red Sox is a he is the lowest price by far. I guess he's not really the favorite. And then Outman and Carroll, James Outman, the outfielder for the Dodgers, and Corbin Carroll plays for the Diamondbacks, are the pair of big favorites in NL Rookie of the Year. So I'll read the names again really quick. Ohtani, AL MVP, Acuna, NL MVP, Strider and Gallen, NL Cy Young, Garrett Cole, AL Cy Young, Yoshida, AL Rookie of the Year, Outman and Carroll, NL Rookie of the Year. Jake, who do you think is the most vulnerable, beatable favorite or pair of favorites of that group of six or more?
Yeah, it's Garrett Cole. Spoiler alert. This guy is the biggest Jekyll and Hyde pitcher in all of baseball. You don't know who you're getting on a night-to-night basis. And he falls apart at the end of the year every year. He's good, but you can't count him. He's the by far most vulnerable favorite. In his last start over the last weekend, he gave up 7 runs to the Rays and like 3 home runs. What are we doing here? It's him.
Yeah, I could tell. I could tell you think it's him. I could tell that. And to be fair, he has the highest price of all the favorites, so he's the closest to the pack. Jake, what if I put, and then we'll get Jeremy's on in a second. Jake, what if I put Cole and Ohtani together? Does that still make you want to try to beat them?
Yes, because I think Ohtani is least vulnerable for MVP, and they're not going to give him both.
I totally agree. That wasn't my answer for the 6 markets. That's probably number 2 for me though. Like I totally agree that market seems pretty beatable. My answer is the same as yours. It's 100% AL Rookie of the Year. And again, it's going to be like, well, who should I bet? And it's like, well, there isn't a right answer to that question necessarily. Masataka Yoshida is being priced like he is like setting the baseball world on fire right now. Like he is plus 125 at what I'm looking at right now. Plus he's a bigger favorite in AL Rookie of the Year than Ronald Acuna Jr. is in NL MVP. Ronald Acuna leads the league in WAR and offensive runs above replacement. He is by far the best player in the National League. Yes, he should be a big favorite. And this guy's a bigger favorite. So you would think that the statistics would match this at some point. And they're not even remotely close. They're just not. So again, like among rookies, and the funny thing about Rookie of the Year is it's an incredibly simple award. It's a WAR counting competition. That's all it is. If you lead the league in WAR, especially if you're a position player, you automatically win. That's how it works. And if you're a pitcher, you have to beat the hitters by a lot more to win. But if you lead the league in WAR, you just win. That's it. Like it's really straightforward. The last 20 winners. Here were their league ranks in WAR. First, second, second, first. And the seconds were hitters that were tied with pitchers, and the hitter won instead because they were really close. That's it. Like, so why do we make this more complicated? That's what I don't understand.
Yeah.
Among rookies in the AL right now, Yoshida ranks 11th. 11th. So I just
That's crazy.
And like, I know it's like, well, like by saying this, aren't you kind of like nuking your edge or whatever? And it's like, well, I've already bet a lot of prices that have dropped dramatically. One we never did on the show, which we should talk about too. But like, I know I want to beat him. Like, I know I want to do that. And sure, could he completely explode in the next 3 months and he could have a great season and he could end up being like a 4-win player? Like, yes, of course that is possible. But like, we don't know anything about these rookies. Like, if it was like, you know, Nolan Arenado has gotten off to a terrible start this year, but like, you could feel confident in saying Nolan Arenado is probably going to hit a lot better the rest of the season. Why? Because we've seen it for like 12 years. And we like kind of know what he's about. So we can project him and feel pretty confident that that's what's happening. Yoshida, we've seen 0 of. So why are we projecting him to do better? Why would we do that? That's a terrible idea. We should be basically only looking at what's happening to a certain extent. And like, that's all we have. And we kind of have to take that at face value. And like, that's why rookie markets are just so interesting, because it's like, no, he's going to be good. Like, he'll be good. And it's like, well, it's like May 13th. And some of these guys that are favorites, like Tristan Casas of the Red Sox was like 15-1 for a while. His WAR was like the worst in the AL among all players. And it's just like, yeah, it could turn around, but like, you're going to bet it right now? Like, that's what you're going to do? So I have some options for beating Yoshida, Jeremy. But I think like, if this is as straightforward as just, it's a race to have the most wins above replacement, and Yoshida's not only not leading the race, he's like not even in 50th in terms of leader. I mean, he's just way far behind everybody. Then I don't know how he can be a justifiable favorite.
I'm not a big XFL guy, but I'm hearing you got some thoughts on the championship. Kind of give me your take. I never got into it, and so maybe next year will be something I dive into it a little bit more. But what are your thoughts on the championship?
Well, I mean, this is our darlings of DC, the Department of Defense, which turned into like midseason shifted and turned into the Department of Offense and started lighting up the board there, making a magical run against an Arlington team that was pretty terrible for most of the year. Huge upset in some of this playoff run here, kind of snuck into the postseason, then gets a win, then ends up in a championship game. To me here, and again, now this is a little bit of a, like, they've had some time off. You've had a long XFL, and you've seen the total come up where it was, 46, 45 and a half, and now it's like you've got the first XFL week where these teams have had a bye. So I think the total move makes sense of getting some rest. For me, it is DC or nothing here. I know there were some 5 players, some 5.5. It's mostly 6, 6.5. At flat 6, it's a deep C play for me. I just think they're totally outclassed here in terms of you're getting an Arlington team that's just had a good run of fortune here. Small sample, as we're saying, few upset games. They've changed quarterbacks a few times during the year versus a DC team that's just kind of been a like elite team from like week 3 on. I think it's DC for me. We've been running them a lot this year. We're riding them. DC, the department of everything. I laid it here with DC. I think Arlington's kind of dream run here comes to an end, and I wouldn't be surprised to see just like a DC burial in this game.
It's just my opinion. 2.5 is the consensus price in most places. It got to 3. I think if people were listening to the Knish interview, he mentioned that I think he might have even bet Packers +3, and it kind of got driven back down again. So I don't think there are any 3s that are not juiced a lot. But Jeremy, I just seeing a market like this, you almost kind of like double take, right? Bears -2.5 against Green Bay. Like, what year is it? Obviously, it's because Jordan Love's the quarterback. What do you make of these two teams this year? Does anything in this game stand out to you?
Yeah, look, I think people have written Jordan Love off like he's going to be as bad as we saw him when he got into games before. Everybody remembers, what was that, a Sunday night or Monday night game that he played, and he just looked dreadful. Was that against the Chiefs maybe? He looked so bad. But again, you look at this Bears team, and who are they going to be able to stop a nosebleed on defense? Like, I know who's quarterbacking. They're going to be able to stop the run game of the Packers. So I'm kind of in agreement with you guys that I think the Green Bay side is probably the right side here. I am curious about the Bears, how DJ Moore fits in on offense, gives them another weapon. But ultimately, I can't see them being, better than Green Bay, even with Jordan Love, who I don't think is going to be very good, but, he's going to run a little bit. He'll make a couple plays. I just don't like the Bears defense.
Yeah, I think the Packers are one of a handful of NFC teams where I don't know whether these quarterbacks are going to be good, but they all have to have tremendous upside because we've seen them play so little. And Jordan Love is one of them, and Sam Howell for the Commanders is another one. Desmond Ridder for the Falcons is another one.
Ugh.
Honestly, Bryce Young for the Panthers is another one, like the number one pick, who was an insane college quarterback. There's a video of him. He looks like he's 5 years old taking the first snap today. He looks like he's 10 feet shorter than everybody else. But, like, guess what? He was the best quarterback in college football. So, like, I don't know what this is going to look like. And he has a great offensive coordinator as his head coach, and Frank Reich. So, like, got to keep my mind open, right? If Sam Darnold starts the opener for the Niners, I don't know. But, like, I have to keep an open mind. The likelihood one of these guys pops is probably pretty high. And the likelihood that a couple of them are actually as bad as we think, like kind of thinking about Baker Mayfield last year for the Panthers, you're going to get some of that too, where those guys aren't very good. So yeah, the Packers are going to be a tough team to rate because they're going to feature a quarterback that people are going to have strong opinions on, but not a lot of data. And man, this market is kind of like he stinks. And I don't really agree that that's kind of where we're going. And for all of the great things that Justin Fields did last year, running for 1 million yards, he's a great fantasy quarterback. He makes at least like 2 or 3 absolutely insane, electrifying plays in like every game that he plays in. That was really, really, really good for keeping games close that they would lose. So like, there's a difference between like, yeah, they covered some numbers against some good teams last year in high scoring games, and those games were really fun. There's a big difference between that and like, you're now going to be like favored by a field goal over another team. Like that's